Welcome to the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast with your hosts, Matt High, Richie Kopech, and Joe Capozzi. Welcome to the lair. And welcome back. We have another wonderful episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. We got everyone in the house tonight. I'm your host, Matt High. Joe and Rich are here. Rich, let's start with you. How are you doing after week 2?
I'm doing a lot better, I'll tell you. I in the first week I lost across the board, except for in one league I actually squeezed out a victory. So this week I managed to lose in that league, but win everywhere else. So putting me pretty much 1-1 across the board. I'll take it for now and see how we're rocking and rolling. But those injuries, man, definitely left a lot of holes or a lot of question marks for week 3, I'll tell you. So it's going to be an interesting week.
Yes, sir. Joe, how are you feeling? Because I know after week 1, you were pretty much done.
Yeah, week 1 was rough. I should be 2-0 in our redraft league. I have the most points scored against me, and I have the second most points in the league, but I'm sitting at third. Should be 2-0, but well, that's another matter. Dynasty, I lost again. Contemplating selling my life and going for Caleb Williams. So we will see. And Guillotine, I spent some major moolah this week because I do not want to start Mingo ever again.
Yeah, it seems to be a sad time right now. Things in Carolina don't look too shabby. So, but now let's take a look at this running back room. Now let's say this is the running back room you had after this week. Okay, it's Kyron Williams, pretty good, nice. David Montgomery, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Then you have Zach Charbonnet, and that's pretty much it. How confident are you in that running back room going into week 3?
You just need
I
one
mean,
more.
Kyron Williams is cool.
Yeah, you're good. You just need one more and you're set.
Yeah.
Yes, that is my running back room until waivers ran. Luckily, I got Jerome Ford, so now I have 2 somewhat starting running backs. But we will get
For
into
now.
that. Yeah, for now. Yeah, but hey, I had Nick Chubb. It's not fun. We'll get into that when we get into the news. But let's dive into our quick question of the day. We've had 2 weeks done in the books, ready to roll. Which player so far are you the most worried about rest of season? Joe, let's start with you.
This one hurts me a little bit talking about is Kyle Pitts. I feel like he's the new Joe Mixon, where every year it's going to be his year, and then it's just never his year. Um, the Falcons are winning games, so if you're winning games, you really don't have to change what you're doing, which sucks because they're not using their offensive weapons. But if Arthur Smith doesn't want to use them, he's not going to use them, which really pains all us fantasy players. I mean, he has 8 targets in 2 games with not breaking 5 points week 1 on just one big catch. Um, he's he's playing the snaps. He's got 70 and 62 snap share, but it's his points are for a tight end position and probably where you drafted him. You're not getting the points you need from him, and it's almost looking better to start doing almost like what you do with defenses and start playing the matchups with waivers and go for there.
It's really sad. I feel like this is going to be like an every year thing until he's no longer a Falcon, which who knows if that ever going to happen. But I agree. Rich, who are you worried about now?
Well, mine's a little more recent, just with the news this morning or maybe not this morning, but just a little, or a couple hours ago. That's Alexander Madison is who I'm worried about at this point. He seemed to have taken over after Dalvin Cook left, and he said that he was capable of being a 3-down back. And it seems they lost faith in him because they ended up trading some picks, a 6th and a 7th round pick for Cam Akers. And so Cam Akers was a 2nd round pick, was pretty explosive in his rookie year before he tore his Achilles. Slow start since then. with end of last year seemed to be kind of rolling back into who he was. So obviously Achilles injuries take some time. But that being said, Cam Akers coming over to this team now, I worry that Alexander Madison's usage is going to go down. There's going to be more of a share. And I mean, for what it is, I think Cam Akers can be a better back than Alexander Madison if what I've seen is correct. So we've seen players go to other teams that like from situations where it's like murky and all of a sudden it's like they're alive again, and they just come out explosive. So I'm interested to see what Cam Akers is going to do. I'm a little more excited about that because I do have him on my redraft team. But other than that, yeah, Alexander Madison owners should be kind of a little shaky at this point.
Yeah, agreed. But we'll see how it kind of shakes out a little bit. I mean, Cam Akers had issues with the last coaching staff, obviously. So who knows if that's a him thing or just a situation change that just you know fresh slate. Let's go. My guy is going to be Justin Fields, the quarterback that everyone was basically saying is going to take the leap forward, getting DJ Moore in this offense he's going to be the next Jalen Hurts, going to take that step, be like Lamar. And so far, if you drafted him like I have, you have been extremely disappointed. He has made some boneheaded moves. He just can't help take sacks. He holds onto the ball way too long, makes some really bad throws. He just looks bad right now. And you can't drop him. No one's going to want to trade him. You're not going to get what you got for him. When you drafted him, the draft capital you put in him is not going to let you mentally let him go. So in my case, I'm just you can't do anything with him. You might want to look for another uh, quarterback to stream in the meantime, but he also did this last year. So that's kind of what I want to make sure everyone knows is he looked really bad last year too until he didn't. And then he gave you that big stretch of games where he was, a top 5 quarterback for fantasy. So the Bears have proven that they can make some midseason adjustments that, help him and help the offense, which will in turn help you in your fantasy rosters. So I'm not saying he's done because he's not. It's still early. The Bears don't look that great. They have things they need to work on. DJ Moore needs to get the ball more, and once they figure those out, which I do think they will, he should be who you drafted him to be. It's been a little bit rough in the beginning, which has not been fun. So that's where I stand on that. Are you guys worried about Justin Fields at all, or do you think this is kind of just more business as usual for him?
So I was kind of worried at first, initially after kind of seeing, the week 2 performance and not kind of getting what you wanted. But today he came out with a little bit of I don't know if it was just a press conference or what, but speaking to the media and just saying that, he needs to kind of get back to what he knows type of deal. And it just seems that there's a lot of people speaking into his mind as to how to play, and he feels as if it's affecting his gameplay. So he said to him, he said he's got to, it's all on him per se as far as what's going on. So hopefully he can light himself up, light the fire inside him, and we can kind of see more of that, run heavy or just very dynamic player that we know Justin Fields can be.
I hope so, and I think a lot of people do as well. All right, let's dive right into the news then. All right, so unfortunately, the first bit of news that everyone heard about on Monday night, Nick Chubb is done for the year. He has a significant knee injury, the same knee that he injured back at his time in college. Um, it's a huge blow to that offense. It's a huge blow to him. If you're looking at dynasty, it changes his value going forward. And, you know, fantasy aside, Nick Chubb he's been, I'm not a Browns fan, as you know, I'm a Giants fan, but watching Nick Chubb run the ball was awesome. He was so good. Every year he does the same thing. He's always over 5 yards a carry. He's a really good dude. And for something like that to happen, it really just sucks for Cleveland Browns fans, the Browns team, and just football in general, because now you don't get to see this guy play every week. With that being said, they did sign Kareem Hunt, which is rumored yesterday, was finalized today. He's coming back, 1 year deal. He has familiarity with the system. So right now it's Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. If you guys had to choose which one you wanted, is there a specific guy you would prefer, or are they both going to have value? Because let's not forget, it used to be Chubb and Hunt, and we saw Hunt last year. He didn't do the same that we expected him to. He kind of fell out of favor with the Browns last season. They just didn't use him, and now he comes back. So, what are your thoughts? We'll go to you first, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, the head coach announced right now that Jerome Ford is the starter. Is that going to be the case going forward the whole season? We don't know. If you look at running backs in the past, I mean, we all know Kareem Hunt. He was elite when he was on the Chiefs, and he wasn't as elite when he came to the Browns. But who knows? Now this is a new start, new year, so I could see him easily taking that job from Ford down the line. Of course, immediately he's just getting there. Ford knows the playbook. You're going to see Ford as the primary back, but who says week 5, 6 if you're going to see as much of Ford if Kareem Hunt is having that hot hand?
What about you, Rich? Which guy would you prefer to have?
Well, I mean, it really depends. I mean, if you need a running back right now, Jerome Ford is obviously, I think, who you're going to plug and play. As agree with Joe, where Kareem Hunt, yes, he knows. I mean, he's been there previously, but it is going to take a week or two to get, football ready per se. That being said, I mean, again, I just agree with Joe. Further down the line, I can see Kareem Hunt end up taking this back over. I mean, he should get the receiving work like he previously did. And I guess just moving forward in that receiving role, I don't think the Browns are really that great. So I think they're going to be kind of playing catch up and more often than not. So Kareem Hunt should be pretty relevant, I will say that. And at that point, it's kind of a toss up. But for now, Jerome Ford, and yeah, definitely I think moving forward, I'd be more happy that I had Kareem Hunt on my team.
Gotcha. All right, next bit of news, we got David Montgomery. Day to day or week to week, depending on who you talk to. Dan Campbell said he's day to day, and David Montgomery has said that it's going to take him a couple weeks to get back. It's a thigh bruise. So who knows? I feel like I don't think he plays this week, but I also think he can play on this. It's just going to be more limited. So this is where Jahmyr Gibbs should hopefully see an increase over last week. It was Craig Reynolds after this happened. He came in and to spell Gibbs a little bit. I'm hoping it's Jahmyr Gibbs, because we're all very excited to see what the 12th overall pick in last year's draft can do if he gets a majority of the work. So that would be very exciting. I don't know if we're going to get that, just because we can't have nice things, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see on that. It wouldn't surprise me if Craig Reynolds gets a decent amount of carries and Jahmyr Gibbs stays in the role that he's been in with Montgomery there. But hopefully we get to see, kind of a flash of the pan and see how it works. Saquon Barkley left last week's game early with an ankle injury, and he has since been ruled out for Thursday night against the San Francisco 49ers. So Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell, do we care about any of those going up against the 49ers this week? Because I know Kyron Williams just lit them up, but I don't have the same faith and their backups as I do, I guess, with the Rams. Do you guys care about playing a running back against the Niners defense after the Kyron show last week?
Running back is a not so easily obtainable thing right now, so a lot of people are reaching for what they can get. San Francisco's about middle of the pack, I'd say, about when it comes to the run. So I think you have worse options, but I wouldn't exactly be like all too thrilled about starting Matt Breida in my lineup.
Yeah,
What about you, Joe?
I'm with Richie on that one, especially as sad as it is for us being Giants fans. I think the 49ers run away with this game, and if they start running away with this game, you abandon the run real quick, and that's not a good sign, especially if you're not even playing an elite running back. You're playing some fill in Breida. I would not be excited to start Breida, but if you need a running back, he's starting, I guess. So
Yeah, we'll put a start with an asterisk next to it. Uh, now we have a sequel, the Cam Akers sequel. He was a surprise healthy scratch on Sunday and was just traded to the Vikings, as Rich said. Um, I have no idea what to expect from this now, but like you said, Rich, it does not bode well for Alexander Madison and the rest of the season. We'll see if the same issues that plagued him in on the Rams transfer over, but hopefully not because when he does play, he is an electric player. It just depends on how much we see of him. So I don't know if this coaching staff is going to put up with him. If there's anything on his end, we won't know about this until a couple of years down the road, most likely. I'm sure there'll be some sort of interview done about this whole situation. So we'll have to wait for that to come out in a couple of years. But now into some more injury stuff. We have Jalen Waddle and Anthony Richardson in the concussion protocol. They're questionable for this week's slate of games. I feel like they could probably both clear. They still have time. It's only Wednesday night, so they'll have Thursday, Friday. That I think they should be good to play, but just monitor practice reports the next couple of days. Justice Hill has a toe injury. Odell Beckham Jr. has an ankle injury. They were both DNPs today in practice. DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams are looking like they're ready to go. Adams was in the game day concussion protocol. Apparently, there's a difference, but he was a full participant today. And DK Metcalf, Pete Carroll has come out and said he does not need to practice to play, which we see this typically. When you're the guy, you don't really need to practice. They're going to put you out there. So he'll be in the walkthroughs and everything, but he might not participate in one-on-one drills or 11-on-11s. So next bit is Austin Eckler. Wasn't practicing, but he was present at practice. So monitor that. It could be the Joshua Kelly show again after the disappointment last week, but we'll see. Jamal Williams was a DNP. Kendre Miller was upgraded to a full participant, and they signed Tony Jones Jr. to the active roster. So we could see Kendre Miller. Just a reminder. I think it's next week. It is after this week. I think Alvin Kamara comes back. So that we'll have to wait and see how that backfield shakes out. If Jamal Williams misses a couple weeks, it could be Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams. So we'll have to wait and see for that. Devontae Parker was a DNP as well today. And then to finish up, last little bit of non-participants, Richie James, Isaiah Pacheco, and as usual, Kadarius Toney did not practice today for the Chiefs. So that is your injury news. Now, why don't we jump in? We're going to do a buy low, sell high for the rest of the season. So, Joe, I'm going to let you go first because I really like yours.
My buy low right now is Javonte Williams. I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on him. You gotta remember he's coming off a major injury, so of course they say he's 100%, but you don't actually know that he's 100%. I mean, he's playing at a 45% snap share at the moment, which is not the best, which makes me think they're almost pulling what they're doing with Brees Hall and they're kind of easing him in. But we all know that Javonte Williams is an elite runner. Even with his limited snaps, he's seen 9 targets in 2 games in the past game, which in half point PPR and PPR is points on the board. If you can buy Javante for low now, I think once he gets fully healthy, you're going to be really glad you did, and his price is going to be more than what you're going to pay right now.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even though the Broncos have not looked good, the target share is nice, and he's someone that I think could get better as the year goes on. As he recovers more and gets back into football shape, he's definitely someone that can really take the take a big leap. Rich, who you got?
So my buy low is AJ Brown, and I think a lot of people are frustrated right now with AJ Brown's performance so far. I know last week he could have caught a touchdown, and it might be a different tune we'd be singing right now, but ultimately it's a bit of a concern. So I could tell from owners, including myself. So, um, but I think the touchdowns will come. I mean, he has been the squeaky wheel on the sideline, asking for the work. So he is the wide receiver one for the team. I just think that the Eagles need more inspiration to have to go to a more of a shootout or something. There just needs to be more fire for them. So Jalen Hurts is playing a little bit iffy right now at the moment as well. So it could be a contribution of that as well. So overall, I think I still love AJ Brown. So, yeah, I mean, if someone's real down on him, try to get him for pennies on the dollar.
Agreed. I think it's a good time to do that, and
Ri-
you can right now.
Rich, you
So
want to trade me AJ Brown?
We'll talk later.
on the podcast trade, my guy's going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's been a little bit disappointing. Coming out week one, we had a couple. We saw Calvin Ridley come back, and he looked exactly how he was when he left originally, and he came back, and everything looked pretty good. Last week against the Chiefs, it was pretty bad. Uh, no one could really do too much, but let's not forget there were four throws in the back of the end zone that were very, very close to being touchdowns. They were like inches away. If they got both feet down, there would have been a lot more points on the board, and he was the one throwing the ball, so that all those would have gone to him. So the opportunity is there. The division that he plays in will make it so that he can basically just beat up on whoever he wants. I don't think there's really anyone in that division that has a significant shot. I mean, Tennessee would be the next closest, but the other two guys got rookie quarterbacks, and those games are going to be a little bit different. This week he's got Houston, so it might not be after this week. You're definitely going to be able to buy him low, most likely. So I'm definitely trying to get him. He's going to be going against some really good offenses, and I think there's going to be points scored in those games, which is going to make it a shootout. And that's, usually a recipe for fantasy success. So I'm going to chase that. Go to the owner right now. Chances are they're not too happy. You could probably scoop them up for not as much. So go whoever did really, really well week two. If you have them, try to upgrade a little bit. It might cost you a little bit more just because he is Trevor Lawrence, and the draft cost. People are still thinking I spent a third round pick on him, a fourth round pick. Like, it depends. That's still going to be in the back of people's minds. So you might be able to wait a little bit too, but I would definitely be trying to go after him. So why don't we go into sells? Joe, who is your sell high for the rest of the season?
My sell high right now is Kyron Williams. Cam Akers out the door. He's the guy. He just had a stellar performance last week. If I'm the owner, which I actually am, I'm trying to sell him to a competing team. Um, don't get me wrong. I think he's going to have a good season this year as the Rams' number one back, but he was pick 164. He's a fifth round running back in the 2022 draft. We've seen in the past, teams have no allegiances to these running backs that they've gotten so late in drafts that when a new draft comes along, he could easily be replaced. I did the same thing with Pacheco. I traded him, and I was glad I did that then. And I would, especially if you're not competing, I would 100% move off of Kyron Williams. Sell high while you can. I think this is his only stellar season, and I don't think he's going to be the leading running back come 2024.
Gotcha. Rich, who is your sell high for the rest of the season?
My sell high is Puka Nakua. And I think it's a little bold. Don't come after me, people. I do love me some Puka Nakua right now. but you got to understand why he's doing it. There is no Cooper Cup, man. Wait until Cooper Cup comes back, and then you got to see how the targets get distributed. Remember, Matt Stafford loves Cooper Cup. So, look, I get it. Puka Nacua is a great addition, and I think as the general fantasy community is referred to him, he is Puka Cooper Cup Jr., right? So, great name there. I do love it. I absolutely don't get me wrong. He's phenomenal as far as just expectations and how he's surpassed that. But like I said, sell high now before Cooper Cup comes in, and then he turns into Van Jefferson.
That
Just
one's
kidding. He's
pretty
not going to
bold.
get that low.
Yeah, that's pretty bold. But I guess like if you're thinking about it, if you can upgrade Puka into one of these guys that's been underperforming, so if you can upgrade, I don't even know if it is an upgrade though. He looks legit. I mean, I
I
know the
like.
target share and all.
I'll talk about him later,
Yeah,
but I like
yeah.
Puka.
Teaser. There we
I
go.
like Puka for now. These next couple weeks, I think we can still see him continue. But like I said, I mean, you can't not be concerned when Cooper Cup comes back into the picture. If he does, if he doesn't, then I could see Puka being just a home run hit.
We'll have to see. We'll wait and see for that one. But my sell high might be a little bold as well, and it's going to be Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Eagles, the guy last year who went nuclear and lit the league on fire with his ability. You know, this is a different team. It's a completely different situation. He also doesn't look. I don't know if you guys noticed this as well, but when he's running, he doesn't look like he doesn't look the same as last year. Last year, you saw him trying to run and get the extra yards. Now he's like he looks to me like he's running out of bounds or he's running and playing it safe. So if we take away some of his rushing baseline that we saw last year, I don't know if he can get it done just through the air. He's still going to be a Russian quarterback. He's still going to have the 1 yard, you know, butt push touchdowns because that's just the Philly special. But I don't know if he has the same upside that he had last year that is going to translate. They lost their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator this offseason. It seems like things have not been, status quo like they were last year. So you could still get a lot for him because he is Jalen Hurts. Everyone remembers what he did last year, what he can do. And I'm not saying he can't be that guy again. I'm just saying it might be worth it, especially if you're a team that is looking for running back depth. You might be able to get a running back plus for Jalen Hurts, depending on what team you're going against. Um, it really is league and team dependent, but I just think it might be worth kicking the tires on trying to find a trade partner and getting him off your team and trying to find value at the quarterback position. Am I crazy for that, or do you guys kind of see that path?
Are you talking about dynasty or redraft? Because dynasty, I'm holding Jalen Hurts.
Oh, just this year, focusing on
Oh,
only redraft.
oh
We'll
yeah,
do another dynasty show another day.
sure. Why not? But I mean, it depends who you're getting. I mean, if you look at T-Law and Justin Fields, they look terrible right now. But we're only 2 weeks in. I mean, I don't think it's time to panic quite yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm holding just as, I think Joe just tried to allude to, it's as the Jalen Hurts person in our redraft. I looked at that option, because I also kind of feel a bit iffy, but who are you going to get? Josh Allen? I mean, Josh Allen's also had one bad week and one good week. So and Jalen Hurts is kind of in the same boat, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I don't really care for that much either. So it's like overall, I think you just stick with what you got if you have Jalen Hurts, but if you believe in Trevor Lawrence that much, I can maybe see the push for that way.
All right, let's dive into the main show here. Heroes of the week for week 3. Joe, who is your hero this week?
My hero and one of my dynasty players is T.J. Hawkinson. Um, he is looking dynamic on the Vikings right now. 17 targets in 2 games. He's looking like a wide receiver more than a tight end over there. With Madison struggling, when the Vikings get towards that end zone, I see Kirk looking towards Hawkinson instead of the usual Cook rumble into the end zone. So Hawkinson, 100%, one of the best tight ends in the game right now. Would be happy to start him any week.
He looks really good. He looks really, really good. I didn't see that level going into the season, but I'm glad I'm wrong because he looks really good. Rich, who is your hero this week?
So my hero is Josh Jacobs going against Pittsburgh, and I'm gonna rally the troops behind the Josh Jacobs owners because there's a little bit of fear in the streets. I feel like a little bit of panic. It's not what we were expecting, especially after last year's performance. So it's a bright spot, I think, this week. Pittsburgh is very vulnerable. Actually, they are the most vulnerable to the running back position. And with that, they did give up 100 yard plus performances in week one and week two, the previous. So I think Josh Jacobs gets right in this game. And yeah, we see what we saw last season.
Nice. I know he's been kind of a disappointment this year too, so it'll be good to get kind of a good game, get back in the good graces of the fantasy managers. So my guy is going to be Justin Herbert going against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, looking at the defense he's going against, they're allowing the eighth most points to opposing quarterbacks at around 20.6 fantasy points per game. And all of his weapons are currently healthy outside of Austin Eckler. But last week, it didn't really seem to put a hitch in his step. He was amazing. He was making the really good throws. Keenan Allen is now scoring touchdowns. He's a target monster. Josh Kelly is capable of catching the ball last week. Just he didn't need to. Um, I don't think it's going to be the same thing as last week. Going against Tennessee, it just didn't work out for some reason. Tennessee's defense isn't terrible, but they're really bad at picking up like wide receivers and stuff. So this week, the Vikings, their defense isn't that great either. So I do think he's going to exploit this matchup. And I think this could be one of the games where he is a top 5 quarterback. He could be the quarterback one. It also projects to be somewhat high scoring. Both offenses are pretty good. So I do like to target those games that have a high over under. So Justin Herbert for me is a locked in starter this week. I'm very excited to play him. There's not many people I would play over him just because of the way I'm projecting and Vegas is projecting this game to go. So, Joe, now the little teaser comes back.
My second hero is Puka Nakua. I'm a huge Puka Nakua fan. I think he's one of those people, almost like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is going to be one of those elite wide receivers. If you look at his stats, week one, he was the top targeted wide receiver tied with Tyreek Hill. And week two, he was the top targeted wide receiver with 20 targets. The next highest was Kirk with 14. I mean, I know there's concerns with Cup coming back. Of course, yes, that's going to eat into his target share, but if you're getting 20 to 14 targets a week, that's crazy. That's number one wide receiver numbers in the league. Like he's getting the most targets out of anyone in the league. So if Cup's going to make him fall back to earth, it's going to make him fall back to still an elite wide receiver number. I mean, if you take 10 targets, half of 2010, still happy with that. So I'm 100% rocking with Puka. Week one wasn't a fluke. Week two, he was just as good. He's going against Cincinnati this week. 100% plug and play.
So, Rich, even though you don't like Puka, what do you feel about him?
I never said I don't like Puka.
He
You
said
guys
he
are
hated
That's what
Puka
I
and
heard.
you should drop him.
You know
Hey,
what?
if I call
Honestly,
Aiden O'Connell Tom Brady, you don't like Puka. So
I
that's how
will
we're gonna
tell
go with that.
I will say that I can definitely see the road to Puka being the Robin to, the Batman role, aka the Devontae Smith of the team, the T. Higgins of the team. the 1B essentially. So, we see T. Higgins blow up more so sometimes than Cooper Cup, and I'm sure that we can see that. The only difference is that these other teams, I mean, they have a little bit of younger receivers as their 1A. I mean, Tyreek is on that older side as well to his Jalen Waddle, but that's kind of where I see Puka being. Rolling
All right,
into it,
we'll
though,
see.
I will then take the mic from y'all. I won't even let you guys talk about it. We're done. We're going on to Jalen Warren, my next hero of the week against, on the other side of the ball from what I was just talking about, against the Raiders this time. Same principle. Raiders also giving up the top three most fantasy points to the position. Um, so at this point, it's just an eye test to me. Najee looks a little slow, and it's not not what you're gonna want when you're trying to explode for fantasy points here. Jalen Warren, on the other hand, looks very dynamic, and I think will usurp Najee at some point here. Uh, so I like him this week. I think you can put him into your flex, not an issue. Yeah, fire him up.
We'll see. I mean, I did after week one. I do remember in our fantasy chat, I did say Najee looks a little slow, so it could be coming. I don't think it's fully his fault, but it it just sucks when some of these guys that come in with a lot of expectations and that we throw on them just don't live up to it. And again, it's probably not his fault. My second hero for this week is going to be Ken Walker, and I'm even throwing out Zach Charbonnet as a potential flex option for your team. Going against the Carolina Panthers, they are ranked as the 31st team against the running backs, allowing about 27 fantasy points per game. That should be plenty for both Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I do think that the Seahawks win this game handily, and in that case, they're going to try to run the ball, run the clock out, and you can against the Panthers. Their defense is not that great. They have a couple injuries, and their offense can't move the ball. So, with that being said, that's where I'm think Zach Charbonnet could come in a little bit more and do a little bit more damage. This could be, one of those games you see what he can actually do. So I want to throw both out, but Ken Walker's the main guy here. Start him everywhere you have him, and I do not believe you will be disappointed. Now, again, let's get a little sad. Zeros of the week. Joe, who is your zero?
My first zero, going kind of the Richies, is Najee Harris. He has not looked great. He's playing just barely over 50% of snaps, and Jalen Warren is obviously seeing more and more work there, which makes me more nervous on starting Najee. If I didn't have to start him, I wouldn't. And without an end zone touchdown, he's putting up disappointing numbers. So if you can avoid playing Najee this week, avoid it. But if you need to play running back, he's a starter.
For now.
I didn't even notice that you had Najee as your zero when I was putting Jalen Warren as my
Oh
hero.
yeah.
Um,
Foreshadowing.
so that's it. Yeah, it's interesting. Rolling on then to my first zero, and that's going to be Trevor Lawrence playing against Houston this week. Houston's actually not the best matchup at all for quarterbacks. It hasn't been last year. It's still kind of rolling around this season. So far, I think they've only allowed one passing touchdown on the season so far. So Trevor Lawrence is going to have his work cut out for him. I think they lean more into the run with this, as I think we've seen people that or teams that play against Houston typically do. Um, yeah, so just a little bit of cautiousness. I think he just has a pedestrian week, if at best.
Yeah, there's one thing you can count on every single game this year, and that is run the ball against the Texans, and it will not end badly. So he's just not going to be needed. So that's why I think you can wait a week to buy him, because the manager is not going to be happy this week, most likely. unless crazy things happen. I mean, we saw a couple years ago that the Jaguars beat the Bills in a thrilling 9-3 game. So who knows? Could be something like that, but hopefully not. My 0 is going to be James Conner going against the number 1 defense in the league, the Dallas Cowboys. Last week, James Conner was very, very involved, as he always is, because there's no one behind him on the Cardinals. This week, he gets the Dallas Cowboys, and I am not trying to play anyone against the Cowboys because that defense looks elite. So this is one of those situations where I don't care that he's going to get the volume. He could probably get, under 3 a carry against this defensive line. They're not going to be able to do too much, and I don't really care if he gets 20 carries because he could go 20 carries for 40 yards. That's not going to be very good for you, and it's not going to be fun. I see you shaking your head, but uh,
I'm just shaking my head because I didn't realize that the Cowboys get to play the Cardinals after just beating up both New York teams. Who made the schedule this year? Because that is atrocious. As a Giants fan, I'm thoroughly upset. What? Oh my God. Whoever has a Cowboys defense is just literally laughing their way to the bank. It is crazy.
that's why I said after our week 1 recap episode, are they the best pick in fantasy? Because the first 3 weeks they get to just beat up on the lowest of the low teams, and
Who are they playing in week 4? Carolina? They're just gonna
maybe
keep it rolling.
the NFL
Chicago after
scriptwriters.
that
Yeah.
with Mitch Trubisky starting. All right, I'm done. Carry on.
But it they're no joke. The Dallas Cowboys are their defense is amazing. So I just don't feel comfortable playing anyone against them. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. So it's really the defense. Don't care about the volume. Don't play James Conner. It will be very disappointing. Joe, who is your next 0?
My next 0 is going to be Zach Moss versus the Baltimore Ravens. Um, Zach Moss just had a stellar performance in his debut, and he's going to come crashing back to earth in this next game against the Ravens defense, which is a very good defense against the run, and possibly without Anthony Richardson, who is still in concussion protocol. I see the Colts struggling heavily against the Ravens. If Gardner Minshew's at the helm, it kind of eliminates that run pass option that Richardson gives. And I don't think Zach Moss is going to perform as many people are hoping he's going to after his week 2 performance. So definitely trying to avoid Zach Moss if you can, if you need to play him. He's a starter.
I need to play him. So Godspeed.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's have fun there.
Well, my second 0 of the week, it's gonna be Brees Hall. The Patriots coming into town to verse against the Jets. I'm concerned. I really am. The Jets losing Aaron Rodgers was a huge deal. We saw Zach Wilson last week, be Zach Wilson. And it's just it's so shaky, it's so questionable. I mean, if I was a Jets fan, I wouldn't even watch. I mean, we know from seasons of experience here that Bill Belichick likes to take away, your best option as far as on the team. And I've been hearing a couple of people talk about it and how Garrett Wilson will be affected as far as he'll be, the one that gets taken out. And to me, I don't think that's what Bill Belichick's plan is. I think Bill Belichick understands that Zach Wilson has a hard enough time throwing without some sort of cutoff to his best receiver. I think he can very much implode himself by throwing anyway. So why not cut off the run, thus creating him to have to throw? And then, and ultimately Zach Wilson's going to be seeing ghosts by the end of the day, and it's not going to be a pretty day.
Yeah, that's a throwback. But yeah, no, it really sucks, man. I know they're trying to ease him back, but the Dalvin Cook experiment is just it's been going on too long. So he had 4 carries last week. That's nuts. You don't give your best player 4 carries, but we'll see how it goes this week. My guy is going to be Damian Pierce against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is more what I think is going to happen this game, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to get up pretty big, pretty early. Um, it's a rookie quarterback with, yes, Damian Pierce is good at football, but he's just not involved in the passing game. And if they get down early, they're going to abandon the run, and he's not involved. So that's where it's going to take him off the field. I don't see how this game is not a pretty high scoring affair for the Jaguars, just because coming off of the loss to the Chiefs, they're gonna want to hit this in division game. They're gonna want to hit the ground running. So I don't believe Damian Pierce is going to be a play. He's more of a low end flex play for me. I mean, he might get some volume. He has the ability to break off a big run, but against this defense with the game script in a negative for the Texans, I just don't see it. I wouldn't feel comfortable and confident that Damian Pierce is going to get what I expect him to. He's been a pretty disappointing pick so far this year. I think he's been under 5 or just around the 5 point mark so far, which isn't what you drafted him to do. And things change. It's we're going on week 3, so it could change back. The pendulum swing could go the other way. But in this matchup, I just feel safer to stay away. So now let's go into some defensive streamers. There's a couple good ones this week. Best one for me, I like, is the Chiefs versus the Bears because
Not
what
the
do you think?
Cowboys versus the Cardinals.
I was
Okay,
waiting for him to say it. I was just waiting
Bro,
for
they
him to
put
say it.
34 points against me week 1. They cost me my week 1 win.
That
We're
is a
playing the
defensive
Cardinals.
layup.
Josh Dobbs. Josh
I
Dobbs.
understand. I also
Patrick
look at
Mahomes. Josh Dobbs.
You know those little IKEA basketball, those little basketball, what's it called, hoops? Yeah, that's what we're talking about, dude. That is the Cowboys slam dunking on the Cardinals, man.
It's going to be
That's a
brutal,
defensive
man.
layup.
Oh,
well, I figured they're rostered, so whoever has them is not getting rid of them. So that's why I went with the Chiefs. Because they're going against the Bears, and Justin Fields can't hold on to the ball, and he just keeps taking sacks. And now they have Chris Jones back, so that's where I was going with
That's
that.
why I picked him up.
Yeah, I know, I saw that. I was sad. I wanted them. Um, then obviously, you got the Cowboys. It's a shit win. If you have them, you're not benching them for anyone. Uh, the 49ers against the Giants could be another really good one because the Niners defense is no joke as well. And the Giants are just inept at offense. I don't care about the comeback last week. That was against the Arizona Cardinals. They shouldn't have been down that much by the Cardinals in the first place. So the fact that they came back is kind of expected. It was a crazy game. I understand that, but I don't know. We may disagree on that, but I just last week was just terrible. I don't even want to talk
The
about
only,
it.
the only reason why he says that the 49ers could be a good streamer against the Giants is because we're Giants fans. It's a great start against the Giants. Play them.
Oh no, if they were somehow on waivers, I'd be getting them because I have zero faith in the Giants after the first 2 weeks, and I don't believe that is going to change anytime soon. I don't care who they play. I'm going to think they're going to be on the wrong side
Oh,
of the game. So
we lost one of our starting tackles, so that's tough too, you know. And Saquon.
I understand. I understand. I know you're more on Daniel Jones than I am. I'm kind of done with all the excuses because there's always something. But back to the show here before we turn this into a Giants podcast, which we could very easily do. Ravens versus the Colts, rookie quarterback or Gardner Minshew, which I think I'd feel more comfortable if it was against Anthony Richardson, because Gardner Minshew just throws the ball like crazy, so he could put up some points. And then the final one I have here is the Patriots at the Jets. Zach Wilson is falling out of favor very quickly, seems after 1 week, and he's clearly not the guy. So I expect them to look for someone else. But in the meantime, the Patriots defense is really good and they know how to play the Jets. So they're going to take away Garrett Wilson. They're going to take away Brees Hall. and it's going to be Zach Wilson trying to do anything at all with the rest of the pieces. So I expect a lot of sacks, a couple turnovers. You can expect at least 1 or 2 interceptions. I'd bet the over on interceptions, I think, in this game. But is there anyone else, or do you like any of those in a specific order, or what do you guys think?
Cowboys #1, and I'm a Giants fan. They're going to
Yeah,
demolish Josh Dobbs.
yeah. Go with the Cowboys.
And I even think 49ers #2 because our Giants are terrible, and I'm embarrassed
Wow.
to be a Giants fan this year.
What a week.
Yeah,
I love the
it's gonna be
Giants.
fun.
We suck.
Yeah.
I feel like that meme with the guy where he goes, "Oh no, we suck again." It's me.
Yeah, that's been us a couple of years now. Last year was a fluke, I think. Last year was
It's
just
an
weird.
outlier year.
Yeah.
But we are in a rebuild, guys. We are in a rebuild. Take it
Caleb
easy.
Williams.
If we get in a position to draft Caleb Williams and we don't do it, that would here we are talking about the Giants again. It's going to make me upset.
Daniel Jones could make a really good backup, I'll tell you.
Sell him to the Falcons. They don't like to throw the ball anyway, and he clearly can't throw the ball. So let's make that happen. 2 first-round picks. Let's send him away. Here you go. Send him packing. Done with him. Out. But all right, before we dive any more into the Giants, I think that wraps everything up. We have a wonderful week of football ahead of us. Good luck to everyone in your fantasy leagues. We're going to be coming up with another show next week. Trying to do a couple a week now going forward. So we're going to work on that. We got a couple other things that we're working on for mid-season. So be sure to stay tuned. As always, like, share, subscribe, write us a review. Anywhere you get podcasts, we're on Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. And go on YouTube. And that is it. Everyone enjoy week 3. I know I sure will. So long,
Get
everyone.
blessed.
Bye.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.